Hello YouTube. This is the second video that I'm making. I'm not making any extravagant introduction this time. I'm gonna try to keep it rather brief this time. Uh, I'm talking now. This episode is gonna be on something on a sport that I never really covered much growing up, the NBA, because I never really grew up playing basketball. I grew up playing hockey, soccer, football, Major League Baseball at one point, but I decided, I'm going to go out in the ordinary. I'm going to try to go out of my comfort zone and talk about the NBA. I'm not an NBA expert, uh, to be honest with you guys, but I'm going to, you can all correct me and tell me what's important. But I was slowly starting to get into the season this year. Uh, you can call me bandwagoner if you want, but I'm not. I started slowly going for the San Antonio Spurs, who unfortunately lost in the finals to the Miami Heat, and I started to dislike the Heat because everybody started to go for them, similar to why I started to hate, and I still hate to this day, the New England Patriots of the National Football League. But I can't say biases aside. It was a terrific series. Game 6 especially and Game 7. I watched, I was able to watch parts of Game 1. I didn't really watch Game 2. Game 3, I was watching. I knew Danny Green was and Gary Neal were making were tearing it up on a three-point line, which was unheard of in the finals of the NBA. And this the series was epic because after game one, it was blowout after blowout. LeBron made a great block on Thiago Splitter in game two, and then he only scored 17 points, but it was other aspects that defined the series. And even though the Spurs were up by 5 points with 20 odd seconds remaining in game six to win their fifth championship, the Heat, showed determination. And next, Ray Allen gets the clutch three with 5 seconds left to tie the ball game up. Then overtime came around, and then the Heat were doing it. But now it's just slowly afterward that I found that got me most was that when San Antonio lost at the post game when they're shaking hands, you can correct me on this. 'Cause I didn't watch any post game or I didn't watch the post game celebration. I watched the after what Greg Popovich said, the head coach, or what Tim Duncan or Tony Parker or Manu Ginobili said, but they were all like praising each other, and that's what I liked, and that's why I like San Antonio because they win. It's good to celebrate when you win, but they're not cocky about their business, and and I'm getting there. And the reason why I started to fall in love with the team and started to become a fan of the team is because I was reading an article back in 2012 in Sports Illustrated that Tim Duncan was he is a great player and he's considered to be the greatest power forward to ever play in his generation play in the NBA. Mind you, even though he did play the majority of the time against Kobe Bryant of the Los Angeles Lakers, there was no every time he won there was no hype around how Tim Duncan would win. The big three, and then I'm in San Antonio. Mind you, even though Tony Parker was in a marriage to Eva Longoria, which eventually fell apart. But anyway, he was just he was an under. I found nobody really made a big they were making a big deal, but not as big. And I was reading that in Sports Illustrated why they say he's underappreciated. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I remember it was talking about that, and even I was reading recently about Greg Popovich, how he's there for 16 years. He's like the Lindy Ruff. He's like the Lindy Ruff was in the NHL with the Buffalo Sabres, who when he lasted almost 14 years until he was sacked in the lockout short 48 game season. Now was recently named the head coach of the Dallas Stars. He has a bright future. Anyway, I'm getting here. It's that longevity and the class, and that's why I like that. And it's a shame that I saw San Antonio lose what could be the last time the big three could win a championship because what should I call it? Ginobili's 35, Tim Duncan's getting old, only Tony Parker's 31, and he could still play, and he still has many years left in him. But it's just that big three is, it's slowly going to be a big number one, and now next year when I start to fully try to grasp what's going on in the NBA season, I will slowly think, I think the Spurs can rebound, but at the same time they're playing in a tough Western Conference because you have I can't really say the Lakers this year because they had overhype when they signed Nash and Dwight Howard to join forces with Kobe for this season, which ended up backfiring because they barely squeaked in. Yes, the Spurs had swept them in 4 games. You have Oklahoma City, mind you, they would have gone further had Russell Westbrook not hurt his knee and been done for the remainder of the playoffs. And also, Memphis is slowly becoming a powerhouse now with Pondexter and Randolph, and you have Tayshaun Prince, who was with the Detroit Pistons back when the Pistons were a great team in the Eastern Conference, back when they had Ben Wallace, and Rasheed Wallace, and they have no relation, along with Chauncey Billups. I still remember these things, even though I never really watched basketball. I used to watch all the highlights on the TSN. And it will be tougher for the Spurs, but mind you, they'll somehow Popovich and company they're gonna find a way to rise into prominence. And on Miami's side, I dislike Miami, but they played better, no doubt about it. LeBron stepped up, and there's a reason why now that LeBron is the greatest player in the world today. And this is why people can hate on him for doing it, but in hindsight we see that yeah, he made the decision, but he's entitled, and that's why he goes up and does these things spectacular, like waking up after in game 6 after the headband came off, or making those big blocks like on Thiago Splitter, and that's what made the difference in the series, which the Miami Heat won. This wraps up the first edition of me talking about basketball, which I'm slowly getting accustomed to. I'm Petros Masha saying so long, and make sure to read my blogs on petrosmashasports.blogspot.com. I'll be writing, one blog will for sure come next week, will be the preview of the Canadian Football League season as the Alouettes will play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in their new stadium that was supposed to be built last season, which unfortunately didn't. And I'll be making a new video shortly about the Stanley Cup Finals coming up between the Bruins and the Blackhawks, when it will end. So long, and I'll see you again next time.